All right, welcome back to Legends in the Spotlight. Today's guest is Autry Beamon here in the Skoll Marketing Studios. Thanks for coming today, Autry.
Thank you for having me.
So we want to dive into a little bit about you, how you came to be in the NFL, and just hear your story from your words. So take me back to the beginning. Was it always your goal in life to play football? Was it your goal to be a pro football player? What was young Autry dreaming about?
Well, yes, it was always my goal. As a young kid, I always played football. Actually, my dad was my first football coach. He coached at the high school and the elementary school that I attended. And my brother and I would stay after school and ride home with him. And all that time, we were catching footballs and catching punts and everything. So I started from a very young age. At the age of probably I was 6 or 7 years old.
Okay.
I actually graduated from high school and went to college at the age of 16.
So you were playing college football at 16.
Yes.
You had to have been one of the youngest players in the country, right?
I was the youngest football player in the country at that time.
What was that like? I mean, that's super young to be playing college football.
Yes, I was I got redshirted, which was a good thing for me because I was only about 165 pounds, 6'1", 165, and everybody else was they were 18 to 22 years old. Mm-hmm. And much larger and a little bit more experienced than I was, which I did play with some great athletes in college that went on and had very successful college professional careers, such as Harvey Martin, who played with the Dallas Cowboys, Dwight White, who played with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tim Collier, who played with the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City. All of them played in Super Bowls and had very successful professional careers.
So coming into college and being surrounded by so many great athletes at a young age, that had to have helped you out quite a bit, right?
Well, first of all, I always had the desire, and in order to be good at something, you have to love it. So I loved it, and as I said, I got redshirted my freshman year. And after that, the rest was kind of history. I made all the honors, All-American, all 4 years afterwards, all conference, all of the honors, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And that propels you into the NFL, and you're selected by the Minnesota Vikings. What was that experience like? Take us through that.
Well, I'd been told that I was going to get drafted by several agents, and had heard from several agents. And at the time, I was 19, 19, turning 20 when I was a senior in college, and heard from several agents that were trying to represent me that I'd be drafted in the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft that year, which was in 1975. However, I did not get drafted the first day of the draft. I got drafted the second day of the NFL draft by the Minnesota Vikings, which was one of the 2 teams, being from Texas, that I didn't want to play for, because when you hear the Minnesota Vikings or the Green Bay Packers, you think of cold weather.
Yep.
And I wasn't used to that. Matter of fact, I never saw snow when I was a kid because it didn't snow in Texas. So here I got drafted by the Vikings, which later in my career was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because the Minnesota Vikings at that time played the type of defense that I was best at. We played a lot of zone in the secondary, and of course we had the Purple People Eaters, which were the baddest dudes in the NFL at that time.
Yeah. So here you are, you're coming from Texas. You had, like you said, you'd never seen snow before, and all of a sudden you're a Minnesota Viking in the heart of the era of them playing outside and really embodying that spirit of the North and the spirit of the Vikings. How did you make that adjustment? Was it a testament to your teammates? Was it a testament to, like you said, your desire to play football? I mean, obviously it worked out for you, but that's such a big transition for a young man. How did you make it work?
Well, I would contribute a lot of it to the desire that I loved it.
Yeah.
I really loved to play football. And then, as you stated, my teammates, people like Jim Marshall. Jim kind of took me under his wing and showed me around, welcomed me to the team, and all, as well as all the other veterans. Of course, I was doing my job. We had the best coach in the NFL in terms of Bud Grant, who was a leader and who gave me an opportunity, is the way I look at it. I was one of, at that time they had 18-round draft picks, and I was number 12 round draft pick, and I was only one of the 18. Plus, we had free agents. We had about 30-something free agents in camp. And they cut the squad back that year, which was in 1975, from 47 men to 43, which meant that 4 veterans were going to lose their job. And I was one of 4 rookies who made the team. Mark Mullaney being the number 1 draft choice, Neil Claybo, who was the punter, and Robert Smith, who was a running back. So, and myself.
Yeah. So one thing I'm curious about, the Minnesota Vikings play such a big role in this state's culture. And you kind of being an outsider when you first came here, what were some of the things that you noticed about the culture here in the state and amongst the team?
Well, the fans, there's nobody like Minnesota Vikings fans. At that time, we played outside in the old Met, and that's where, to me, that's where tailgating was invented and started, because everybody tailgated before, after, and probably sometime during the game out in the parking lot of the old Met, outside. I mean, we're talking about 30 below zero.
Yeah, they're dedicated.
And people are partying out in tailgate. And that was really really something to see. And, of course, as a player, they would invite us to have a beer with them after the game.
Did you do that?
Of course, I don't think I was old enough at that time to drink, but sure. I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd have a beer with them or something.
That's awesome. I can't even imagine the fan experience of being out at a tailgate, freezing your butt off all day, and then here come the Vikings coming to hang out with you guys.
Oh yeah, it was very, very cool.
That's something special.
And then even in the off season that year, we had a Vikings basketball team, and we would travel within about 5 or 6 state area, Minnesota, North and South Dakota, and Iowa. We even went to Alaska one off season to play basketball with maybe it'd be the Chamber of Commerce guys or the coaches at a high school team or the police department or the firemen in different small towns throughout Minnesota. And they were always welcoming to us.
How did those games go? Did you guys put a whooping on them?
We won a lot of the games. Well, we had guys that were very, very talented. Matt Blair, I can remember. Paul Krause, he could shoot from anywhere. A lot of guys. Bobby Bryant, Oscar Reed. So,
one thing I was curious about, was there any thought when you got to the NFL about what your number would be? Are you someone who thought a lot about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's the story behind it?
Well, I was number 44 in college. And, of course, I wanted the same jersey with the Minnesota Vikings. Mm-hmm. There was a problem, though. I guess it really wasn't a problem, but there was a guy by the name of Chuck Foreman that was wearing number 44 with the Vikings at that time. So I ended up with the number 27, which was fine, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Can I ask where 44 came from? Why was that your favorite number?
Well, that was my number in college.
Okay.
when I played in college football. So
Gotcha. Wasn't sure if there was like a backstory behind that, why you like that number.
no.
Nice double 4.
Yeah. So, but like I said, Chuck Foreman was wearing it, and Chuck wasn't giving out number 44, and of course he did his job in that jersey, number 44.
He certainly did. Yes, he did. So after the Minnesota Vikings, you kind of bounce around the league to a couple different teams, Seattle and Cleveland, correct?
Right.
What was the experience like there? How was it different in other organizations across the NFL?
Well, I got traded to Seattle by Bud, and at that time, that was the second year of the Seattle Seahawks existence, which was in 1977, which was the year after we played in Super Bowl 11. Well, I went out there. I got traded the last week of training camp. Went out there and became a starter and co-captain of the team, myself and Steve Largent, and played, every game, all the game, and so it was a good fit for me.
Yeah.
So
was it hard kind of having to leave that height that you'd achieved in Minnesota going to the Super Bowl to another team?
Yeah, I think it's always a little difficult when you make a change. The change, they don't wait. I mean, when they trade you, you're usually out there the next day, or if not the same day. And it's all business, and it's you have to make adjustments pretty quickly and adapt very quickly. But like I said, the first game I was out there, I think I blocked a punt and ended up scoring a touchdown.
In your first game?
My first game out there.
Oh, heck yeah. You made a statement.
Yes.
So I'm curious, when you look back at your NFL career, what are maybe your favorite moments that stand out?
Well, the first one was, in training camp, meeting all these legends, Jim Marshall, Carl Eller, Alan Page, Doug Sutherland, Matt Blair, Wally Hilgenberg, Mick Tingelhoff, Paul Krause. I mean, these guys were legends. And to come into an organization, they had older players, more established players, I should say, that knew the game. They played hard. They were tough, and that's the way I like to play as well. So
it's a good fit.
So it was a great fit.
So, just generally speaking, how does one make it through a career in the NFL? It is so grueling. It's a long grind of a season, and of course, the physical toll. What were some of the strategies that you had to get yourself through it and get to that finish line at the end of the year?
Well, it was a little different then than it is now. We didn't even have a weight room, basically. When I played, nobody really lifted weights.
So how was everyone so big and strong?
We just had the desire to play.
Yeah,
and we were tough. That's the bottom line. Everybody didn't come out of the game very often. You had to be pretty beat up.
Yeah.
And yes, the physical challenges of playing football is tough, but you have to be tough-minded and you work your way through it. And as the season progresses, it gets a little bit more difficult. And that's when you got to step up and be your best. Usually around that 10th or 11th game, which is the Vikings are starting to come into now, it's very challenging. You have injuries, but we played through injuries.
Yeah.
Everybody played through injuries.
So in the time since you've left the league has gone through countless evolutions on all sides of the ball. I'm curious about your position, defensive back, how you've seen changes in that role, and maybe how, when you watch a game on Sunday, let's say this week, how things are maybe a little bit different than they were when you were playing, or has it not changed that much?
Well, I think it's changed. The guys are, I would say, the defenses are probably, I know they do more blitzing and there's a little bit more strategies involved. Right now they have what they call and I'm not totally versed on it, but they have these what they call analytics. We had that as well, but we didn't have it like it is now, computerized, and they can tell you to the degree that basically what they're going to do, basically. And we had that. We had what we call situation charts, where we knew wherever they were on the field, this is their 3 favorite runs, this is their 3 favorite passes. If they're inside the 20-yard line, this is their favorite runs, and these are their favorite passes. So we had that, but not to the degree that they do now.
Gotcha.
So,
do you think having less analytics at the time made you a better player? It made you kind of have to go more on instinct, and you had less data going around in your head. You just kind of could act.
Well, I learned early, first week here, as a rookie, the main thing about playing professional football is you do your job first, then you help out. Everybody has a job, but you do your job first, and then you can help out, make that tackle in a different way. And you got to keep your eyes open, especially as a defensive back. You got to know where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and do your job. So,
absolutely, team game. So one last question for you. I want to end on this. We talked a little bit about your journey coming from Texas to Minnesota, and of course, in that era, the weather was a huge factor for the Vikings. What was the coldest game you ever played in at Met Stadium? And on that game day, what did you wear?
Well, first of all, we could wear at the Met Stadium. We could wear long sleeves or long johns, so to speak, under your football uniform. No gloves, though. No gloves. And I can remember a couple of 30 below zero games, definitely in the 30s. And of course, we practiced in 30 below zero weather.
Yeah.
We were only out in the field an hour and a half, but would have us out there an hour and a half, and then we spent an hour and a half in the classes studying, the plays and stuff, and studying the other team. And in terms of the coldest day, I can't remember a specific day because at that time, to me, it was colder then than it is now, of course. And we had several 30 below zero days. And of course, the fans were always there on Sundays as well as we were.
Best fans in the world.
And the other thing I do remember about that is that the teams, the old Met was actually a baseball stadium, and the teams were on one side of the field, and they were beside each other during the game, And you could look over at the visiting team, and of course they had heat. We didn't have heat. So
you guys were conditioned. You were conditioned. You were ready to go.
Yes, we were. And we loved it. We loved for those warm weather teams to come up, especially during the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think of the game last year when the Miami Dolphins went to Kansas City, and those Miami boys it just didn't work.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We loved it. I loved it. So
that's awesome. Well, that's a great place to end. Autry, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much.